There is a version of that Tuesday that lives in my body still, not in my memory, in my shoulders, in the specific way I hold my breath when someone walks too purposefully toward my desk. I was on a call with a vendor when he came in. The process server. He didn't ask for reception. He walked through the open office like he'd been given directions, and he had, because someone had told him exactly where I sat and exactly what time I'd be there. He put the envelope on my desk without a word. Then he said my full name out loud, in a room of 31 people. I know it was 31 because I counted them later, sitting in the bathroom, trying to understand what had just happened to me. I cried at my desk. I want to say that plainly because I've told this story before and left that part out, and leaving it out made the story feel cleaner than it was. I sobbed in a way I hadn't since I was a child. The kind of crying that doesn't care about audience, that has no performance in it at all. My colleague Dana put her hand on my back and didn't say anything, which was exactly right. I don't know how long I sat like that. Long enough for the room to quietly rearrange itself around me. People finding reasons to be elsewhere. Conversations resuming at lower volumes. The ordinary merciful machinery of a workplace trying to give someone privacy they couldn't physically access. The envelope said what it said. A lease agreement. My address. My parents listed as landlords. Monthly payments allegedly in arrears. An eviction filing dated 8 days prior. I read it 3 times. The 4th time I read it, something shifted. Not emotionally, but structurally. The lease referenced a mortgage. A specific loan number, a lender. I knew that loan number. I knew it because I had paid it off. Completely. 4 years ago, I had sat at a closing table and signed a satisfaction of mortgage and received a deed that said, in the flat, unambiguous language that deeds use, that the property was mine. Free and clear, with no encumbrances. That deed was recorded with the county, public record. It had existed, officially and permanently, for 4 years. The lease my parents had forged referenced a mortgage that had not legally existed for 4 years. I didn't call them. I want to be honest about why. It wasn't strategy, it wasn't restraint. I simply had nothing to say that would have meant anything. Some conversations announce their own pointlessness before they begin. I called a title company instead, a woman named Gretchen who had handled my closing and who remembered me, or said she did, which was kind either way. I asked for a title search. I told her I needed it as quickly as she could manage. She called back in 3 hours. Unencumbered ownership. No liens. No recorded lease. No mortgage. Nothing attached to that property except my name. I forwarded the results to my attorney with the eviction filing and a single sentence. Please advise on next steps, he called the following morning. He used the word fraud carefully, the way attorneys use words they mean precisely. He said he had a professional obligation to file a referral. He said the motion to dismiss would be straightforward. He said I should let him handle the sequence of it and try not to think about the timeline too much. I thanked him and hung up and stood in my kitchen for a while without doing anything in particular. I went back to the office the next morning. No one mentioned Tuesday. Not directly. There was a quality to the room, a kind of collective awareness that something had happened and was continuing to happen beyond what they could see. Dana brought coffee without being asked. My manager found a reason to tell me I'd handled the Kellerman account well. Small ordinary kindnesses extended with slightly more intention than usual. I accepted them without explaining anything. The legal process would move the way legal processes move, slowly, then in ways that couldn't be undone. My parents would receive documents I hadn't written and face questions I hadn't asked. That was no longer mine to manage. What I had was the deed. What I had was Gretchen's title search. What I had was a forged lease that had referenced a debt that hadn't existed in 4 years. They had built the whole thing on a fact they hadn't checked. That was the part I kept returning to. Not with satisfaction exactly, but with something quieter and harder to name. They had simply not checked.